Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Nero. Today I wanted to make a video talking about why I think The Last of Us 1 was such an amazing game. I recently just finished The Last of Us a couple of days ago, and I've just taken some time to reflect on it. And I wanted to talk a little bit about each of the components that kind of added up to making this game as perfect as it was for me. Starting off with the story of the game, then going through the gameplay, and then talking about the visuals and the music, and then talking about the ending as well, and why I think the ending was a perfect fit for the game and kind of closed the entire story while leaving it open and up for speculation as well. So, starting with the story, I really enjoyed the development of the characters. Yes, you can say this for a lot of story games, but in this game, you really only have Joel and Ellie throughout the entire game, and you're kind of very focused on them. And the game gives you a lot of time to really focus on these two characters, to focus on the relationship that they're building. Joel started off as a really traumatic character, or a lot of traumatic experiences. Lost his daughter, and that really sets up as the foundation for how his relationship is with Ellie. And I think it's something so important because Ellie doesn't realize that Joel has gone through this until a little bit later in the game. And kind of all the interactions you can think about where Joel is coming from, even simple dialogue with Ellie. The dialogue in this game is absolutely beautiful, whether that be the actual kind of cutscenes and the discussions between the characters, or whether that be the dialogue while you're traversing through the woods or traversing through an old kind of abandoned building. The characters discuss with each other in natural ways, something that you would think two people would do if they were alone and just talking and just randomly talking about things, right? It really makes them human and really allows you to immerse yourself into the game because they're talking about such random things, Ellie's love for comic books, or Ellie trying to learn how to whistle, right? It's just such small things that really makes them feel like real people rather than just dialogue focusing on the main story. I personally really enjoyed the progression of Joel's character opening up to Ellie, and really getting more comfortable with her, getting more comfortable talking about his life, about his past with his daughter. The development of these characters are what really pull you in emotionally. The emotion that this story brought and invoked in me, it was something that you start thinking of these people as real people and become invested into them. And when something happens, even just the dialogue towards the end of the game, almost every scene between Ellie and Joel was just so sad to me. I also enjoy how the game touches on sensitive topics as well, specifically the scenes with Sam and his brother, Sam's turning scene, and Sam's brother taking his own life. When you have such serious scenes in a game, it really makes the world feel much more dark and more realistic because these are real things that could happen if a situation played out in real life. Okay, next I wanted to talk about the gameplay. It's very similar to the Uncharted series because it is Naughty Dog. It's a very simple, intuitive gaming experience. I really enjoyed the choice to kind of play at your pace, more specifically in the combat and how you kind of approach your enemies. You could either kind of go very slowly and play methodically and think about situations logically and go one by one with your enemies, or you can just go out guns blazing and just take down all your enemies at once, but you make a lot of noise, right? And that could cause more enemies to come. I love that ability to think logically and put yourself into the situation. And I think something that can be overlooked is the combat system. I really, really like the combat system because at first I was comfortable with my guns that I had. For example, the shotgun and the revolver were the two guns I'd say I used the most throughout the beginning, until I was forced to use other guns and other equipment. And because I didn't have ammo, so I was forced to use my hunting rifle. And then at one point, I was forced to use my bow as well. And then I realized the bow was a really good weapon because it made no noise and it was almost a one tap to the hunters. The game forced me into uncomfortable situations, but then I became comfortable because I was forced to get comfortable. That is such a great thing about a combat system because it doesn't make you stick with something that you're comfortable with. It kind of forces you to branch out your options, use things that you never used before, and see the value in these things. And then throughout the game, now you have a whole assortment of items you can use whenever they're best needed. You can use a bow when you want to be quiet. You can use a Molotov when there's a lot of enemies in an area, right? There's so much customization in terms of what you can do in a situation that makes your own gameplay unique to yourself. So talking about the music in this game is absolutely beautiful. When you're in the forest just exploring, getting closer to the fireflies, and you hear the music just slowly kick in, and you just start appreciating the scenery and everything that this game is. You start appreciating so much more because the music just kicks in at the perfect time and really helps you immerse yourself into the environment. That's something that the game does very well. It knows when to use the music and knows when to keep it silent. The visuals of this game are visually very appealing. And I think a main reason for that, or a main reason I found, is because of the sharp contrasts between our darker areas, kind of more muddy areas where there's not a lot of life and everything feels very void, in contrast to the areas where there's grass growing from the ground and there's birds chirping in the sky, there's trees around you. I think a great example of that is the scene with Ellie in the giraffes, where she sees the giraffes and you see the birds in the background, and you as a character Joel get to just experience that. You can just stand there. I stood there for like a minute just watching the giraffes go across the field, and it's something that really immerses you with the environment, and it is like a small reward after experiencing darkness for so long. Even if it's not visually dark in the game, the points of darkness in which you've overcome, I really like the ending of this game. I think the ending really wrapped it up perfectly. You see the progression of Joel's character to a point where he was ready to give Ellie up to his brother, and then he made the choice to take Ellie back. He begins to care for Ellie so much to a point where he will sacrifice a cure for her being alive. And the ending is so well done because Ellie doesn't know what happened with the fireflies, and Joel has to keep this lie that they weren't really looking for cure from her. It leaves the question up for speculation of whether Joel made the right decision. And after playing this first game, or anyone playing this first game, that's what really sits with you once you're done. And it's something that you'll be thinking about, of that moral dilemma that Joel had to go through. It makes the game just stick with you so much more. The ending of this game and just the latter scenes between Joel and Ellie always had me so emotional throughout, even if it wasn't necessarily a sad scene. They became such close characters. Seeing them sad or seeing them not get along, it is very sad, because you begin empathizing with these characters and where they're coming from. Thanks guys for watching. I really love this game, The Last of Us, and I had to make a video because it was just something that I genuinely enjoyed, and I hope someone else can play it and have the same sort of feeling. Maybe it's been a while since you've played The Last of Us and wanted to be reminded of why this game was so great. So thanks guys, see you guys in the next one.